Hey, beautiful human. Welcome to episode 19 of From Chaos to Cozy, where we're on an amazing adventure, gaining clarity around our chaos and how to see our cozy more clearly. In the last episode, we got to know about our inner mental kid self, the one who convinced our emotional inner child to go hide in the basement of our subconscious so we could all be a little safer. We also chatted about some important astrological seasons of our lives where we're ignited and invited to review our thoughts and beliefs, more commonly known as our Saturn returns. And in this episode, we're going to visit with our physical inner child, which is more like our inner teenage self, and how it reflects and can voice our other inner children and kids when we aren't listening to them. We've talked about how our emotional child self is formed 7 years old and younger, even back into the womb. Our mental kid body is formed between 7 and 14 years, around there. And our physical body grows and changes from 14 to 21, including going through puberty during a lot of that time. And of course, during that time, we're flooded with hormones and different chemicals as we become more comfortable being in our newly developing bodies, facing new desires and urges, and experiencing our bodies changing shape. All of this during one of the most challenging times in our lives, where there's an extremely strong desire to belong and fit in with our peers and our society. Sometimes during this time, we can feel like the wolf on a full moon, where the desires and emotions sparked by our hormones make us feel like our human lizard brain takes over and wants to consume all sorts of desires. Can feel like we become someone else, maybe even something else, right? And with our emotional and mental bodies, in a way, being set in a strong mold as we go through this development time of our physical body, our physical body doesn't learn so much through praise and punishment like the earlier emotional and mental bodies. It learns more from observation of those in authority around us. So we learn by example, not by instruction. In teenage humans, they watch their parents, guardians, those set in authority, teachers and government, whoever, and they see their actions as the acceptable actions. And so it's not about do as I say, not as I do during this time. It's more like the well-known phrase, actions speak louder than words. And we have a desire for independence, and we want to be treated as a young adult, even if we may not be ready for it. And our parents, their fears of being held responsible for our actions as teenagers, and of course wanting us to be safe, that can keep them from giving us trust and responsibility and allowing us to be included in any decisions that impact our lives. And some cultures celebrate the, quote, coming of age, give or take around 16 or so, where a child ceremonially becomes a young adult and then is treated as such going forward. I read about a village in Africa where the men of the village would ceremonially rip a son from their mother's arms, representing him becoming an adult, with them crying out in tears. And then all the men, they would take the, young male child on a hunt with them, brand him even with a tattoo. And when he returned to the village, everyone would treat him as an adult. He would take on adult responsibilities and start acting as an adult. And if we still feel like we're children in adult bodies, we can also perform our own rituals or ceremonies if we didn't have one, either alone or with some trusted friends, and let that be a turning point in our lives where we stand up, be bold, and start living the life we want instead of trying to be what we feel everyone else wants us to be. It was also interesting that the daughters of that tribe would be taken away from their village by the women of the village for their first menstrual cycle, being guided and taught by the women of the village. And then they would also return to be treated as an adult, taking on adult responsibilities. It is an interesting human characteristic or bodily function that when women live closely together, that their monthly cycles can actually change to all be in sync together. And that just shows the power of this divine feminine energy that reaches out and connects with other divine feminine energy in other individuals. Now, moon cycles can impact females as well as the different signs the moon moves throughout the month. Usually every 2 to 3 days, the moon changes zodiac signs, and it travels through the entire zodiac every 28 to 29 days, which matches the cycle of a woman. Keeping aware of the moon energy is very beneficial for us all, as we can all benefit from knowing the emotional energy weather that's going on. You know, Mother Luna, the moon, rules over the sign of Cancer and how we relate to mother or motherhood. And it impacts us all with the shifting physical and emotional tides. It also significantly impacts females and those with a lot of water in their astrological birth chart, or those that have a moon in a water sign. You know, every moon affects us differently because of its position and degree, and each zodiac sign bringing different influences and characteristics along with it. You can find this information online for free, and there are also some great resources out there that you can purchase. We'll take a look at here at one that I use here in a moment, which is the Llewellyn's Daily Planetary Guide, and I'm excited. 2025's edition is coming out in July, which gives us a good amount of time to review and plan our next year to most effectively use the astrological energy. So here's this year's book, which is really cool. I'll just really briefly show you. It even has a little introduction to astrology. Tells you about all the different elements and the different zodiac signs, even aspects and degrees and that type of thing. Talks a little bit about retrogrades in here too. And it goes into the moon energy, which tells you each of the moons and the general energy when the moon is in a particular sign, which is really cool. And then she steps through each of the weeks and tells you, a little bit about what the energies of the week and the five, what's the top thing happening and the top astrological energies to be aware of. And then what's really cool is when they get into the weekly, I'll just kind of get a little closer here. You can see it always talks about here what the moon energy is, and it has different of the aspects of the planets and things too. So you can be really aware of with the cycle of the moon, like its second quarter here, and different astrological events. And that's the big thing. And then they actually have a calendar of the full month, which you can have an overview and see when the cycles happen. And then what's really, really cool too is they have an ephemeris in there that covers for the year. Now, if you listen to my retrograde, my astrological energy videos, I talk about the ephemeris and how you can tell and track when the pre-shadow and post-shadow happen. So this also helps to show you when different planets during the month go into the actual retrogrades themselves. So you can kind of look at all that too. So really, really helpful. Really helpful book. So staying on top of the moon cycles helps us navigate our human adventure in the physical world, as we can be prepared for those full moons when we start growing fur and fangs. In our physical body, it does have natural survival instincts to help protect us and keep us alive, aka the fight or flight mode. But we also develop emotional connections and reactions between the heart and the body. And what I mean by this is that emotions create thoughts, and thoughts create action, which end up being reflected in our physical actions and decisions in the physical world. For example, I have found that when I'm not wanting to do something with someone or an event or something like that because of either fears or other emotional reasons going on, my body will physically get sick and reflect the desire not to go, which expressed by an upset stomach, head feeling like a balloon with allergies, or other symptoms. And it's like, well, how do you know that it was that? I'm like, well, I know that because they're related, because after canceling the plans, I suddenly feel much better. And so it's like, oh, that is why. It also seems that when we have unresolved lower vibrational emotions at our core of our belief systems that we've created within us, that if they are activated often enough, igniting that lower vibrational fear energy within us, that they will make their way out into our physical body. It's like our little emotional inner child is in the cellar, clanging on the pipes to get our attention. And if we don't pay it much attention, eventually our bodies start expressing symptoms to point us inward. And I've read that many of our diseases in our body are caused by us feeling not at ease, meaning stressed. And many medical conditions are stress related. So it makes sense knowing how our bodies are like our teenage selves who, after hearing our inner emotional child crying and yelling and throwing a fit, it gets tired after a while, points to our inner children by manifesting physical conditions to tell us. Like a teenager, our adult selves may have a hard time understanding the language of our physical teenage self, but we can develop a way to communicate with our bodies as it watches and listens to how we treat ourselves and eventually shows us what is being left undone. And as I mentioned, I learned some things over time that when my body does certain things, it's trying to tell me a certain something. And that is what we can do throughout our lives by noticing patterns and trends. Journaling in general is helpful with this, especially if you note how you're physically feeling as you share what's going on in your life at the time, mentally and emotionally. But there are and have been some great medical intuitives and amazing souls who've connected to the spirit realm and have gathered information to help guide us on possibilities of what the emotional source of some physical symptoms could be. One beautiful soul who helped transform the landscape of our perception of bodily impacts is Louise Hay in her book, You Can Heal Your Life. As with anything, we see what resonates with us. And as Louise Hay mentions in her book, the author of this book does not dispense medical advice or prescribe the use of any technique as a form of treatment for physical or medical problems without the advice of a physician, either directly or indirectly. The intent of the author is only to offer information of a general nature to help you in your quest for emotional and spiritual well-being. In the event you use any of this information in this book for yourself, which is your constitutional right, the author and the publisher assume no responsibility for your actions, and neither do I. So it's a disclaimer that, of course, we have to have here in the United States, but she does mention all of that just for clarity and at the beginning of her book. And it is an amazing book. In the introduction, I just want to read the introduction to you. It's short, but it just allows you to see her intentions here. And she said, I have written this book to share with you, my readers, that which I know and teach. It incorporates portions of my little blue book, Heal Your Body, which has become widely accepted as an authoritative work on the mental patterns that creates dis-eases in your body. I have had hundreds of letters from readers asking me to share more of my information. And many persons who have worked with me as private clients and those who have taken my workshops here and abroad have requested I take the time to write this book. I have set up this book to take you through a session just as I would if you came to me as a private client and attended one of my workshops. If you want to do the exercises progressively as they appear in the book, by the time you have finished, you will have begun to change your life. I suggest you read the book once, then slowly read it again, only this time to do each exercise in depth. Give yourself time to work with each one. If you can, work through the exercises with a friend or with a member of your family. Each chapter opens with an affirmation. Each of these is good to use when you were working on that area of your life, and take 2 or 3 days to study and work with each chapter. Keep saying in writing the affirmations that opens the chapter. And the chapters close with a treatment. This is a flow of positive ideas designed to change consciousness. Read over this treatment several times a day. I close this book by sharing with you my own story, and I know it will show you that no matter where we have come from or how lonely it was, you can totally change your life for the better. Know that when you work with these ideas, my loving support is with you. She is on the other side. She did so many things, helped the community so much with all of this. I highly recommend her book. If you can pick it up like at a used bookstore too, for very, very low prices. It's been around for quite a while. In here, there's also some points of her philosophy, and I'm just going to bullet point them here because they're just so powerful. So, we are each responsible for all of our own experiences. Every thought we think is creating our future. The point of power is always in the present moment. Everyone suffers from self-hatred and guilt. The bottom line for everyone is, I'm not good enough. It's only a thought, and a thought can be changed. We create every so-called illness in our body. Resentment, criticism, and guilt are the most damaging patterns. Releasing resentment will dissolve even cancer. We must release the past and forgive everyone. We must be willing to begin to learn to love ourselves. Self-approval and self-acceptance in the now are the keys to positive changes. And lastly, when we really love ourselves, everything in our life works. So you see how it's quite an amazing and life transformative book. You know, her chapters look at what is the problem? Where does it come from? Is it true? What do we do now? Resistance to change, building the new, daily work. And then also how to apply her philosophies in relationships and work and success and prosperity and the body. And it does include the list of many medical conditions and problems with the probable cause and the new thought pattern. That's what her little blue book she talked about started off as, and she does include that in there. Some examples just give you an idea. Like allergies, the cause is like, who are you allergic to? Denying your own power. And the affirmations is, the world is safe and friendly. I am safe. I am at peace in my life. Constipation, refusing to release old ideas, stuck in the past. Sometimes stinginess. The affirmation is, as I release the past, the new and fresh and vital enter. I allow life to flow through me. Diabetes, it's longing for what might have been, a great need to control, deep sorrow, no sweetness left. The affirmation, this moment is filled with joy. I now choose to experience the sweetness of today. Could maybe experiencing insomnia, and that's about fear, not trusting the process of life, and guilt. The affirmation for that, I lovingly release the day and slip into peaceful sleep, knowing tomorrow will take care of itself. And last one I'll mention is muscles. Anything with muscles, resistance to new experiences. And muscles represent our ability to move in life. I love this affirmation. I experience life as a joyous dance. There are over 60 pages listed in her book about each of those different, medical situations. But there's a lot of content online as well. You can just search Louise Hay, emotional reason for blah, 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 and then search for the medical problem you have. You'll probably get tons of results. So just look at and see what resonates with you. And I'm sure there are other resources out there. But her book is one that has come across my path in this lifetime that's been so helpful for me and friends and family. We change from the inside out, not the outside in. So when the outside is asking for attention, it's actually pointing us inward somewhere. And a book like this helps us get there. In whatever ways you can find to listen to your body and discover its very personal language to you, it is, it's going to be using one that's specific to try to communicate to you in your way. The more healthy and happy our physical lives will be when we learn to listen. And I hope you've enjoyed this little peek into our inner children over these last 3 episodes. They are an important part of our lives, and I'm sure we'll continue to reflect upon them through our journey from chaos to cozy, because after the emotional, mental, and physical bodies have finished their initial forming up to around age 21, after that, we're pretty much echoing the first 21 years of our lives going forward until we begin to question the emotions, the thoughts, and physical expressions of these influences, and also looking at the energy that we're focusing on in each moment. We'll get more deeply into how to question all of this in future episodes. It's freeing once we're able to understand in our heart and mind that our childhoods were specifically chosen by us to help form the person we are today by chiseling away those things that needed to be removed to reveal the perfect work of art that we are. Family dynamics, events with friends in school, lack of activity in our lives even, being chosen last for teams in gym at school, whatever it may be, it all happened for us. And I'd love to hear about how your body talks to you and any ways that you have developed a clear communication with your own physical body, learning how to listen, anything as well, how you track moon energy, anything you've experienced with moon energy. And of course, if you have any questions about any of the content, please don't hesitate to ask. This is an amazing adventure that we're all on, and we can all learn from each other. So you can either comment below, or if you'd prefer it to be more private, you can also email me at brettazen@gmail.com. In the next episode, we're going to talk about the 5 of our superpowers that can help us transform our chaos to cozy, including the power to question. Wonder Twin powers activate. I don't know if you guys, that's an old Super Friends cartoon way back in the day. So kudos to you that remember that. You young whippersnappers, it's okay. You can Google it. All right. Until next time, remember every second of every moment of our lives that we are eternally and unconditionally loved by the Mother and the Father of all things, our Creator. And of course, I love you too. So hang in there. Take care of you. And we'll see you soon.